What are you people doing here? What are you people doing here? I'm not going to apologize for what's about to happen. No, because that would be bad. Right. Oh, yeah. I'm not here today. I mean, I'm fine. It'll be fine. Whatever. We'll go. We'll see what happens. 15 people. This is the worst day for me to flame out. Well, haha, that's a bad joke, but you'll find out why in a moment. Booyaka Ken. Okay, hold on. Let's just start. We'll just start and see how it goes. Stand by. Expectations and hashtag these uncertain times and a bit of listener feedback. It is Monday, the 26th of October, 2020, and this is macOS Ken Live. Oh man, what kind of day has it been? Hi, I'm Ken Ray, welcoming you into this edition of macOS Ken Live, which I will start by saying I am about 50% here for, which is why there's about 50% of a show today. Yeah, reasons. So I'm in Southern California, which I don't think I've ever actually talked about much. Although if you watch my Instagram feed, you've seen more palm trees and less snow over the past couple of years. And I bring it up because there's a wildfire somewhere near here. Like I woke up today going, do I smell smoke? And the answer is yes. Incredible winds, weird light outside. And so I've spent most of the day not really concentrating on much of anything except for, watching the news and figure out if we're going to have to bug out. So neither here nor there. I do have a bit of a show that I'm going to go ahead and do. And then, go back to watching the news and we'll see what happens. So second half of the show, we're going to do feedback. And first half of the show, we're going to talk about what to expect and hashtag these uncertain times. Here's the thing. Almost everything that we might know about expectations for the upcoming earnings call, because Apple is going to do fourth quarter earnings for fiscal year 2020 this Thursday. The earnings come out after the bell, and then the call will happen at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And a lot of people are arguing about what they think is going to happen. Arguing. That's not really fair. A lot of people are, coming out with their notes because it's what they do. They're financial analysts. They analyze Apple's position. Let's go over what a few of them are saying, and then why I, knowing nothing, think Apple is going to surprise to the upside. All right. First of all, Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty does think that they're going to beat expectations a tiny bit and understand the expectations are set partly on Apple having, they don't provide guidance anymore. They provide color. And the reason, I guess, I would be willing to bet it has something to do with legally when they say guidance, then they're actually required to, it's probably something regulatory. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. What's weird is when the pandemic hit earlier this year, Apple readjusted guidance. It basically took guidance off the table and said, we don't know what's going to happen. Come the next earnings call. Next earnings call came out. They actually beat expectations, which was a bit of a surprise to them. And they said they weren't guiding for the following quarter. They did, however, provide color, they said, which basically sounds like providing guidance. So my guess is, and it is only a guess, the difference is if you say I'm providing guidance, then you've said one thing legally, as opposed to we're providing color, that indicates something else. Although they still say all the same stuff around it, including the fact that they don't have to say if they change their mind on it or if they find they're not going to do that. What is it they say? There's an exact phrasing for it. They assume no obligation to adjust the information that they're providing or the color they're providing or whatever. So Apple did provide color last quarter. I don't have that in front of me. Wall Street still gets together and decides what they think Apple's going to do anyway. And then every analyst comes out and says, I think they're going to do this, I think they're going to do that. And then Apple comes out and says what it's going to say, and we all forget what the analyst said. Not really. Some of us do. Philip Elmer DeWitt, Apple 3.0. His website is PED30, I think, which is kind of awful. but it's because he had the Apple 2.0 blog, and so now he does Apple 3.0 for himself. He was doing that for Forbes, I think, and now he's doing it on his own. He is an excellent person to keep up with if you want to keep up with what all the analysts are saying. He also, takes him out back and beats him up every now and then on, who's underwater, who overstated, who's been accurate, things like that. So that's worth checking out. Anyway, today's stuff that I've got is from Apple Insider. Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty does think that Apple is going to beat expectations by a tiny bit, although she thinks that iPhone expectations are going to miss, which is kind of funny. I know that Apple will give revenue for iPhones sold. They won't give number of iPhones sold, though. And that still seems to sort of be the game that people are playing. There are a couple of wild cards in there. One is, well, there are two, really. There's iPhone SE and there's the pandemic. iPhone SE costs $400. So Apple could actually sell a ton more iPhone SEs and still miss on revenue. We'll never know the numbers because Apple won't say the numbers, although they will probably. If there is one phone that does surprisingly better than the others, they might come out and say, we were surprised by the uptake of iPhone SE or something along those lines. I think they actually said on the last call that iPhone SE did very well, that iPhone 11 was still the primary seller, which is what market researcher CIRP is saying as well, but we'll get to them in just a moment. Cowen and Company analyst Krish Sankar expects Apple to report quarterly earnings results that are in line with Wall Street expectations. JP Morgan analyst Samik Chatterjee thinks that Apple is going to beat expectations by a tiny bit. And Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani, says that iPhone sales during the September quarter will come in lower than expectations. But, we're never going to know. That's the thing. Unless Apple suddenly changes its mind and says, here's exactly how many iPhones we sold, we're never going to know exactly how many iPhones Apple sold. It's going to be based on revenue, right? And revenue is kind of a weird one right now because of the low cost of the iPhone SE. That said, according to CIRP, they're actually showing great numbers for the September quarter, which on the one hand is kind of odd because we all know that there's a new iPhone coming in October. And of course, we've talked here a million times about how we don't all know that. We all know that because we watch Apple regularly. It's kind of hard to imagine that people don't know that the iPhone, the new iPhone comes out in the fall. It's kind of hard to imagine that people don't know that. It's sort of like not knowing that new TV shows start in the fall. Of course, they don't necessarily anymore. And if you only buy a new phone when your old phone breaks, you have no idea when the next phone comes out. I know that Samsung puts out phones when? November and March? Is it something like that? But I'm vaguely aware of that, and I could honestly be wrong. I know about the Apple stuff because I watch Apple stuff. If I wasn't an Apple watcher, if I was just buying a phone, when my old phone broke down, instead of trying to figure out how soon I can actually go ahead and get the new phone and justify it, I might have no clue. The latest CIRP data, according to, I believe this was from Apple Must, the latest CIRP data tells us that the iPhone SE accounted for 22% of U.S. iPhone sales in the September 2020 quarter, with the iPhone 11 series grabbing 64%. The data also shows that Apple's retail stores, online and physical, increased their share of total sales from 13% to 21%. This is also a wild thing to me, but we'll get to it in just a moment. This was the first full quarter of iPhone SE sales, according to Josh Lowitz, CIRP founder and partner and co-founder. During a challenging quarter with COVID-19 altering the retail landscape and delaying launch of the new 2020 flagship models, the new SE models succeeded in attracting customers with old phones in need of an upgrade. Last fall's iPhone 11 family of phones continued to sell well, with iPhone 11 remaining the biggest single model, and 1/3 of customers opting for the premium-priced iPhone Pro and iPhone Pro Max. They got to be kind of bummed because the new iPhone Pro and iPhone Pro Max cost them about the same, I think. To be fair, I don't actually know where all of the people who CIRP surveyed shopped. I know they talked to 500 recent iPhone buyers, generally speaking. I didn't actually read that this time, but in everything of theirs that I've read in the past, they pretty much talked to 500 recent customers of the device that they're talking about. So if they're doing iPad numbers, they talk to those. If they're doing iPhone numbers, they talk to those. You get the idea. I would think that the people who just bought an iPhone 11 last month would be kind of bummed, or an iPhone 11 Pro, excuse me, would be kind of bummed because same price and all that stuff. Um, the retail thing was particularly interesting to me. I don't quite understand it. According to CIRP on retail, online actually beat in store for the first time ever. Apple's retail operation increased its share of total iPhone sales in the quarter compared to last year, according to Mike Levin, the other partner and co-founder at CIRP. At 21% of total sales, it was among the best quarters we've seen in the past few years. That was not the part I wanted to read to you. That might have been from a different note. If it was, I apologize. Something I read said that online actually beat physical retail for the first time, which makes sense because physical anything is not fun right now. Plus, Apple stores were closing quite a bit. It's weird to me, though, that people are going to Apple's online store instead of Best Buy, Walmart, Target, all the places that you can go and either pick up other stuff or sometimes get a better deal. Maybe people want a bit of the normal. Maybe people have actually been able to save some money during the pandemic because they're not going out and doing the other things, or we're not spending the way we normally would. Summer used to mean vacations, and for some people it still does. Other people didn't go anywhere or do anything this summer, so maybe they had a little extra jingle in their jeans, as they say. I don't know. There are just so many different things to consider around the whole thing. It's hard to keep track of. And probably what's going to happen is they're going to come out with numbers that are moderately better. They're not going to say how many phones they sold. They're going to talk about the amazing uptake for iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro and how incredibly excited they are to introduce iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max coming soon. Plus, did you hear about the HomePod mini? And then we'll all, listen for hints that there's going to be a November event to announce the Silicon Mac. I sort of assume you've heard about that. Maybe you haven't. I'll talk about it on tomorrow's Mac OS Ken. It looks like Apple accidentally released information about a 16-inch MacBook Pro that has not been announced yet, which a lot of people are thinking is probably going to be the Silicon Mac. But we'll get into that more and talk about it more tomorrow. What do you say? Coming up in just a minute, I've got one piece of feedback that I want to hit. First, though, I want to remind you about another show that I do called In a Few Minutes. This is one where I get together with a friend and we talk about technology stuff. Sometimes it is a topic that they bring to the table. Sometimes it's a topic we agree on. One day a week, it's a stupid game show that I personally enjoy because I get to know the friends that I have a tiny bit better. This week, Ross Rubin, who is principal analyst at Reticle Research, formerly of NPD Group and a bunch of other places, but currently a principal analyst at Reticle Research, joins us. He wanted to talk about Facebook. He didn't want to call them evil, though. It's an interesting story, actually. I've been trying to get a bit more into it. Basically, some researchers at NYU are trying to figure out how it is that people are being targeted with political ads. And Facebook would rather the researchers at NYU not do that. Facebook says they're violating its terms of service. The researchers at NYU, I don't know if they say they're not or if they're saying they don't care. But either way, they have no intention of stopping what they're doing. And it was an interesting story about which I did not know much. Ross brought that to us Monday. We talk about new Apple gear. We talk about when AR is actually going to be a thing. It's a big week. Ross is a great guy. He's incredibly intelligent, so I hope you'll check it out. The show is called In a Few Minutes. You can find it wherever you find podcasts, or you can also listen to the audio of it right here on my YouTube channel. And for people listening to the audio podcast for this, the YouTube channel is youtube.com/KenRay. Right. As I said, this is going to be a short show today. I'm going to go ahead and hit one piece of feedback that I got from Jeremy with 3 points in it that I need to address. And then we'll call it good for the day. If you're in the chat room, stay in the chat room because we'll talk for a couple of minutes. But I got to go do other things. Right. Here's what Jeremy had to say. This is about Friday's live show, actually, when I talked about considering freebies. And somebody had written and said, why aren't we talking about the fact that every iPhone costs $38 more? Because now I have to buy a new pair of headphones and a new charger. And I said, why aren't we talking about the fact that Apple is actually giving away OLED displays and LiDAR? Jeremy wasn't overly into everything I had to say. In the live show, you were talking about the iPhone 12 pricing and how the mini is $100 less than the 12. But that mini price is the same price as the 11 was last year. So for a regular size phone, Apple raised the price $100. OLED and 5G don't come free after all. Okay, that is true for the iPhone 12. LiDAR, though, is free. And of course, none of it's free. I mean, that was my whole point. Like, they're moving numbers around a bit. Nothing is free, nor is anything necessarily $38 more. Now, I will say, Jeremy does have a better memory than I do. A goldfish has a better memory than I do, but Jeremy has a better memory than I do. I thought the price went up $50 on the iPhone 12, and then they lowered the price of the iPhone 12 mini down $50 from the 11, thus making that $100 gap. I did not realize that it was the smaller phone that stayed the same price and that the other one went up $100. So, okay, I'm with you on that. I will say, though, LED displays and the LiDAR at the high end, from the consumer standpoint, are still free. I mean, again, nothing is free. And that was my whole point. Nothing went up $38. Nothing is free. There you go. The other thing that Jeremy wanted to call me out on, and he's not wrong, although, again, memory like a, what did I say? Jeremy says, I have to call you out, saying that Apple didn't remove the headphone jack, because I said last week they didn't remove the headphone jack. They replaced the headphone jack with the Lightning port. Saying that Apple didn't remove the headphone jack, they just changed it, is wrong. It could generously be called being an Apple apologist, but it is wrong. The headphone jack is a physical thing. The Lightning port is a different physical thing. When iPhone still had headphone jacks, the Lightning port could also be used for audio. I do it daily on my original iPhone SE I still use. They did not change the headphone jack into a Lightning port. They removed the jack. That is my bad, because you were right and I am wrong and I forgot that. I will tell you what I did. I was thinking about the fact that they stopped giving away the 3.5 millimeter headphones when they stopped with the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, but they put in the Lightning headphones instead. And so in my head, it wasn't just changing the iPhone or the headphones, excuse me, it was also changing the jacks that were available. And so for that, I apologize again. Memory like one of those things that I was talking about earlier. You're right, and I was wrong. I will say, the point that I was addressing was, I can't remember who it was. Was it Forbes, Fortune, whichever piece it was last week that got me all head up? CNBC, maybe? I don't know. They were talking about the fact that Apple wants to eventually release a phone with no ports. And what I said last week was, I'm sure Apple would love to release a phone with no ports because you don't have to worry about it getting wet. You don't have to worry about dust. Yes, you do get to sell a bunch of other peripherals. I still find it hard to believe that that's going to happen. But anyway, Jeremy, you are correct. I was not being an Apple apologist. I was being a very, very, very forgetful person. He also asked me about the test kitchen, which I'll go ahead and answer here since he asked. The test kitchen is for testing stuff. I used YouTube to test this show, so it sort of bypassed the test kitchen. But yeah, leave that feed open because, you know, there's always a chance I'll find another 30 minutes a week and say, I'll bet I could fit a show there. Anyway, that's going to do it for this short edition of the show. If you're here in the chat room, please stay in the chat room. I will be by to chat it up in just a bit. If you're listening to this podcast, don't forget, we do this live Monday through Friday, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, other times, other places. Look on your neighbor's paper to find out when, but don't get caught. macOS can end in a few minutes tomorrow morning. We'll do this again tomorrow afternoon, and I will talk to you soon. How behind am I? I didn't even bring coffee. So I could pantomime almost drinking coffee as I often do, and then we'll see what's going on over here. How's everybody doing? My goodness, you people are talking so much I can't even. Which is great. I love it. I can't catch up. Is wildcard one word? Is that what you're telling me, Roger? That wildcard is one word? Not making that noise at you. I'm making that noise at me. I actually meant to check it and I forgot to. Chuck's here. Don's here. Donna's here. Roger's here. Frank's here. Rob's here. Hi, everybody. Randy. Matthew. Do. Matthew says I might need a bug out bag for all my Star Trek stuff. Yeah, well, I'm honestly not worried. But it's hard not to be distracted. So thank you very much for your concern. I appreciate that. Mac Interactive wants to know what's happening because he missed the start of it. There's a fire burning near here. Wildfire, actually, thousands of acres, but not millions of acres. So I feel like we're doing better than other places. There we go. Clocks in the UK went back an hour at the weekend, says Mac Interactive. Yeah, I was confused by that. It might have been you or somebody else was saying, well, here we are again. I was actually freaked out on Sunday. It was like, did the clocks change and I didn't notice? Oh, good. Bill said, I haven't even checked, Bill. I'm sure it's there because Apple sent us an email. Bill is saying that his extended time for Apple TV Plus is finally showing up as extended. Because up until very recently, they were saying, all right, well, you're about to be charged. I can't find it right now. I will trust and assume, though, that mine is extended as well. Mac Interactive wonders if people are buying from Apple due to the reliability, purchasing from the source, which is my preferred option anyway, but in these uncertain times. I've bought from Best Buy before and I've had no problem. I bought from, actually, I got my last iPad from Target as well, because that one was a Black Friday deal because it was like $100 off. So I upped the storage for $100 for the same price that I would have paid anyway. I went cheap on the iPad though, because I almost don't use it. In fact, I use the iPad now more for this, for doing notes for this show than I've done almost all the rest of the time. I should just leave these on or throw this away. Roger says if he did go into Best Buy or a Walmart, he might be able to find an iPhone that still had the charger in it and the headphones. It's an interesting thought, Roger. Oh, Randy, what are you saying about not finding any subsidies worth any real money, just trade in money for the old phone? Especially if you go with Mint Mobile or Boost or somebody like that. Yeah, that's true. And again, you're paying significantly less. Not that this is an ad. Same is true for Boost Mobile and Cricket and everybody else. If Cricket's still out there, I don't even know. Apple refurb has been okay in the UK. I've done a lot of refurb stuff, actually. This computer that I'm talking to you on now is my first, like, real new, like, absolutely nobody ever touched it before except for the people who put it together computer. 2 Macs before that were refurb, and they were great. I've also turned family members on to refurbish stuff. That said, I wouldn't do it for my phone. And there's no good reason not to do it for my phone because I'm sure that everything Apple says, they're just as good as the brand new phone. It's just, on the rare occasion that I put this to my face, I like the fact that I'm the only person who's put this to my face. And that was even before hashtag these uncertain times. So, yeah. Vern says the extra money that Apple is saving is going for OLED panels and Qualcomm modems. You're absolutely right, Vern. I think you are anyway. I mean, I don't know for certain, but I'm willing to bet. Remember that though? Remember that? People were guessing that the iPhone 5G was going to cost between, $1,200 and $1,500. They brought them in at the same price. And I know $38 for the headphones and the charger. I know, but nobody thought that they were going to be. They have a $700 5G phone. Even if you're not excited about 5G, they're going to kickstart 5G just by virtue of the fact that they're making new iPhones, which are always big sellers. I mean, some years bigger than others. The 12 is going to be bigger than the 11. The 11 was the biggest since the 6, I think. I mean, they're going to jumpstart 5G just by virtue of the fact that they put it in there. They just included it. I know, not just included it, but they just included it. You get the idea. Matthew suggests buying your phone in France to get the headphones. Not a bad idea. Dude, seriously, I've got a set of the Lightning headphones that have never been in my ears or anybody else's. I will knock $19 off your price. Send me an email. Nice. John says several years ago he actually stopped taking the charger and earbuds out of the box. John, you could have a cottage industry. I have chargers and headphones. Who needs them? My starting bid, $18.50, says John. Dude, I'm using them. Chuck, look at your screen. Look at your screen right now. I absolutely use the Apple earbuds. I use the Apple earbuds all the time. I used to use a pair of Sonys that went over the head. Well, my head. But yeah, I love these things. I know I'm like one of 3 people who loves these things. I love my AirPods for going out for a walk. I like my Raycons for going out for a walk as well. I can't do over-the-ear headphones anymore. I would like to find a pair. I'm always tempted to buy a pair of Beats headphones, partly because I want to see the changes that Apple has made in them, and partly because I'm a hipster, Chuck. You know this about me. I want to look cool like the kids. I've thought about buying a pair of Beats headphones before, but they're really costly. And I've got so many pairs of these, and I don't know why, dude, but I mean, when I got my first pair of these with my first iPod, I haven't looked back. I would like to get a pair of AirPods Pro. I'd like to try a pair of AirPods Pro. Keeps the boxes so when you hand them down, the new user gets the new experience. That's very nice of you, John. That's why he's not going to sell anybody his headphones or his charger. All right. I'm glad we had this extra time. I'm sorry that my part of the show was a bit shorter, but thank you guys for being here and for chatting with me after. I'm going to go turn this into an audio podcast, and then I'm going to get to work on tomorrow's Mac OS Ken and some other stuff too. It means the world to me that you guys are here. Thank you. I will be safe, everyone. Thank you. I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.